Hello, I hope everybody is having a great day so far. I'm Aaron Wybe. I'm the Communications and Engagement Manager for the Extension Foundation, and I'm going to be your technical host today. Just so you all know, at the end of this presentation, we will have a Q&A portion. So we do invite you to use the chat box, but if you haven't, so if you have any questions, feel free to put those questions in the Q&A chat box that you'll see on your Zoom window. And also, we've turned on Zoom's closed captioning feature. So if you have any specific accessibility needs, please feel free to reach out to me in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to help you. We have a wonderful group of folks today from New Mexico State University, and this group received funding as part of the Extension Foundation's New Technologies for Ag Extension program, which is a partnership between USDA NIFA and at the time Oklahoma State University and the Extension Foundation. It's been a year of significant growth and learning with this team to help increase their game's cultural sensitivity, working with kids to retheme the game, and other elements of using game-based learning to teach food safety content. So this game is part of a growing trend in extension, which is using multimedia products to educate and engage diverse audiences. So in the game, players engage in different themed kitchens to serve delicious and safe meals to clients to teach kids food handling skills. This team has a lot of things to share from their experience, including how to prioritize accessibility, diversity, equity, and inclusion in design, and will detail the process used to elevate the game with a focus on cultural sensitivity to support more users' needs and improve the gameplay experience. The team also offers a research-based framework to help extension design media for inclusion and provides a common vocabulary, guiding questions, reflection points, and recommendations. So at this time, I'd like to turn this over to Mateus.
Hey, thank you, Aaron. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session. I'm very excited to be here. I know for some of you it's like lunchtime, so I really appreciate you being here in your lunchtime. And we are very excited to share about Theme Park Kitchen. We have been working with this project for over a year, and we recently released the game. So we are very excited about to share our research process behind the game, and also how can you incorporate the game in your teaching practice, maybe like in a formal setting or a formal setting. So we're gonna go over those things during this workshop today. Let me figure out my slide deck here. Oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, we have some people from our team here. So my name is Matheus Zaroto. I work at New Mexico State University. I'm an assistant professor and also an extension technology specialist. I just got hired. Like I think this is my third month as a specialist. I'm very excited to be here. And I work with educational media, and my research focuses on accessibility and inclusive design. I also have here some people from our team. Amy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Amy Smith-Muse. I'm an instructional designer with the Learning Games Lab. Also was part of the process of applying for this funding and user testing the game.
And we also have Ruth that worked with us putting this presentation together. Ruth, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mateus. Hi, good morning. My name is Ruth Torres, and I am almost the newest acquisition for the department. I joined this January as a postdoctoral researcher, and I'll be helping with all the learning ideas behind all of our products.
Nice, thank you. We also have in the audience Dr. Pamela Martinez and Dr. Barbara Chemley from our team, part of our faculty team. So they're probably gonna wait for you right now. So thank you so much for being here as well. And they were also very involved with the project. I'm seeing people like popping up and like, oh, I'm so excited, there's so many people in this session. So we are part of the Innovative Media Research and Extension at New Mexico State University and also Learning Games Lab. So we have a nonprofit development studio. So we work creating educational media. So the way that we deliver the extension mission for our universities through educational media like games, apps, virtual labs. We have a lot of social media campaign as well. We have virtual reality for different contents, different audiences. And basically the way that we work with grant funding projects. So this one, for example, that we're presenting today, Theme Park Kitchen was funded by NTIE as Aaron mentioned in the beginning. So we usually collaborate with experts and in specific contexts like food safety or math learning or science. And then we articulate, we have a specific process that we go through and design the media that will be meaningful for that audience so that we can foster specific change to that audience through media. So if you have any grand idea or something that, oh, I wish I have a game for that, please feel free to contact us and we can guide you through the process or like looking for possible fundings. As I mentioned, we also have the Learning Games Lab that I've been coordinating in the past years, which is a space that we have designed to deliver some outreach program to our youth in our community. We also use the space for a lot of user testing and design activities. So it's a very cool space designed to make people feel comfortable to share their feedback. And then we also teach youth in summer programs and also school breaks, our design process, how they can be critical about the media that they consume. And also we also use that for a lot of testing that we're going to show some examples today during this session. So a quick overview about today. We just have 1 hour and we have so many things to share. So we're gonna start like showing a video of the game, a gameplay that you can have like a better sense about the game. And I know that some of you have played the game so far already, but we're gonna show the gameplay video that will help you to give a sense of what's the game about, what kind of like the levels look like. Then we're gonna talk about a little bit our process, especially like what the research behind the game, how we arrived to this idea, and how we work through accessibility and diversity and representation things we have. This is a redesign project. So we have a previous version of this game that was discontinued because of technology discontinuation. It was designed in Adobe Flash. And then we also have some representation and cultural appropriation, our old version that we thought, since we are redesigning this game to be accessible, we can also tackle those issues and be more mindful with diversity, equity, and inclusion concepts that have been working through the years. We're also going to talk about how to use the game. So since we have this tool, how can we incorporate that in your classroom or with your students or with your community? How can you use that? What kind of strategy can you use of like guiding questions? We're going to go over those things as well. And then at the end, we have like a space for questions. I think that would be very helpful. If you have questions, you can put in the chat. And then we can answer those at the end. So before that, I want to start with an activity. I don't know if you're familiar with Padlet. I love Padlet because we can collaborate together in this digital space. So one way to go to Padlet, you can use your phone to scan this QR code, or I can put the link on the chat for you. Let me put the link on the chat. And basically on Padlet, I ask you, what content do you think will benefit from a game? So let's think about it. Think about the audience that you serve, or your students, or your community, or even yourself as a learner. What kind of content do you think you will benefit if you have like a game that you can practice, go through levels, and learn more about the content? So you can go in the Padlet and press plus there, and then you can add your answers. You can add as much as you can. And then at the end, we can take a look in those inputs. And for some of the things you probably will mention, we have some products that we can share that can help you with that content, or we can look for possibilities of collaboration based on the content that you're trying to teach using games. I'm seeing a lot of some answers there, so nice. And we go back to that at the end. So now I'm gonna share, Amy will share with you the gameplay of the game. I have the gameplay with me actually, Amy. Let me go there. I don't know if you wanna add something about the gameplay, Amy, while I'm finding the link.
Sure, I'll just mention that this game really ramps you up through the levels. So when you start playing, it's going to be very simple foods that you're serving. And as you continue through, they get more and more complicated. And then finally, at the end, you can no longer see the contamination, and you have to just remember what foods have touched raw food, what plates and foods have touched raw food.
Okay, I'll hit play now.
Youth are the next generation of food handlers. Why not give them the chance to practice with a safe, fun, digital game? In Theme Park Kitchen, players learn the ropes as a new employee, gain insight from the head chef, and serve a variety of customers passing through the cafe on theme park rides. As they master the levels of the game, players learn about food storage and preparation, safe cooking times, and how to avoid cross-contamination. The game teaches food safety in engaging ways and helps youth internalize safe practices. Theme Park Kitchen has 3 main learning outcomes. 1. Wash hands before preparing food. 2. Avoid cross-contamination from raw meat and dirty produce to cooked or ready-to-eat foods. And 3. Cook foods at the proper temperature. Throughout the majority of the game, players can see contamination on hands and surfaces. In the final levels of the game, the visible contamination disappears, and the players must remember which steps add and remove contamination. Theme Park Kitchen is great to play in the classroom, at home, or as part of a 4-H or extension program. Play it for free at themeparkkitchen.org.
Yay. So let me go back to my slides here. Just a second, I have too many tabs open. Oh, this is the game, that's the one I want. Let me see your answers there. Can you see my screen still? I'm seeing some answers on the Padlet. Some I see financial literacy, money management. Yes, I would love that too. Boating, hunting, outdoor safety, way KCA, I don't know what this stands for. Making good decisions, bicycle pedestrian safety. So we have a good stuff there. So you can keep adding your things and we go back at the end. Okay, let me come back to my slides here. Yay. So the main problem that made us go through this game design process is the foodborne illness. It's a serious issue in the US. I believe most of you are aware of those issues. And then we looked the numbers, the cost for the country is like 15.5 billion per year. And a lot of people get sick. We have some debt. So that's a big issue that the country is really trying to fight and articulate it. And research point that one way to solve or address this big issue is like training consumers about food safety practice. And then also research points that youth ages 11 to 13 are exactly in the age that they start like cooking and preparing food at home. They not only represent the future of food safety because some of them will be working in the industry and the food industry, and then they also will be having families and producing and cooking for their families when they grow up. So also research points that youth, they learn their food safety practice from their parents. And unfortunately, some of the parents, they don't follow the food safety rules and practice. So we create this whole cycle of like problems and issues with food safety. So the way that we articulate that was like, okay, we can create like a tool, like a training or that will help this youth to learn this content. And naturally, when you think about like, oh, do you want to play a food safety game and you ask a youth, they will not be very excited about that. So we need to make it very engaged for them to connect with the content and really see the connection with their daily basis. So for that reason, we articulate this game-based intervention. I really want to mention the funding support that we got from NTIE and the catalyzers, the specialists, Chuck and Don Million, they work with us throughout the project, keep us on track, really asking great questions and helping us during the process. I also want to mention the content advisor for this project and for the previous game that we designed, Dr. Carol Brenner. She is at Rutgers University and she guides us in terms of the content and lead of the research that help us to understand what the youth needs in terms of like teaching on food safety and how can we articulate that in the intervention. So as the trailer mentioned, we have 3 main learning outcomes. And when I mentioned Dr. Carol, that was her research that guided us to arrive to those 3 learning outcomes that we want. Once players finish playing this game, they will have these 3 main things they will learn from the game. So the first one is hand washing before preparing the food. The second one is cook food at the proper temperature. So they will be using a thermometer during the gameplay. And finally, avoiding cross-contamination when they have raw meat and produce. And as you can see in the image, there's some particles. That's the way that we represent in the game when something is contaminated. We use like this visual element to communicate that. So throughout the gameplay, players will have multiple chances to practice those 3 concepts so they can internalize that. And they realize, oh, that's really a thing I should do. So the game has like 5 different themed kitchen areas. So the kitchen change depending on the area. And as the gameplay also mentioned, the video, we have this progression. The game is very scaffold to become like more difficult as you progress in the levels. So players just start like serving simple drinks, just grabbing like a bottle of water or like an orange juice and serving to customers. And at the end, they are making very complex food that they need to grab like a raw meat and grill that meat in the right temperature. They need to wash a lettuce and shred that lettuce, and then they make like a burger. So they have this complex and combination foods that add more challenge to the game, and through all that, they need to follow all the food safety practices. Here, I want to highlight that because we have this unlock button, and it's not specifically for players to skip levels. That's really thinking about that the game might be using a classroom environment, that maybe the teacher only have like 1 hour or 45 minutes with the students. So with this unlock feature, the teacher can unlock all the levels and play specific levels to address a specific content. Let's say you want to work specifically of using the thermometer. You can unlock that level, that all the levels, and go specifically to that level to practice with your students. And then also one of the things that the game does is, and to help students to internalize the content, is that throughout all the levels, they can see that contamination. So we have like a particle for raw meat, which is red, as you can see there. And the yellow is for like produce. When you have those contamination, you need to go and wash your hands because you have something that contaminated there. But when they arrive at the last level, there's like 3 levels that they can play. They don't see those particles anymore. So that's the chance they can really practice, is that, oh, I need to wash my hand after I have this raw meat in my plate. So they really need to remember that and practice the things that they did throughout the gameplay. So it's a challenge level for the players for sure. One of the things that we are very proud of the game, and that when we redesigned it was like working, how can we make this more accessible and considering users and their wide range of needs? And one of the things that we did is accessibility keyboard control. So when we think about like users with motor needs, some of them cannot use a mouse to control the game. So the way we design allow players to fully play the game using the keyboard. So if you see on the buttons that we have an underline in the first line, like for example, continue there and resume game, is because that's a shortcut. You can use just the letter R to press that button. And also the gameplay itself, you can control the character and all the elements in the interface using the keyboard. Other thing that we did that was also a big thing that changed from the previous version of the game was like eliminating time pressure, which for some players is such a fun element. You know, we have this time pressure that make you do things fast and think and articulate things fast. But for some player and learners with cognitive needs, that's a very stressful thing that they cannot do. And that creates like a struggle and anxiety for them. So the way that we do that, we remove the time pressure. We still have like a timer because we need to finish the level at some point. But the way that we handle that, and we have multiple iterations of that and testing, it was we have this park open and park close. So while your park is open, you're still receiving some customers. Once your park is closed, you don't receive more customers, but you still can serve those and finish the level. So it means you're not gonna fail the level because you didn't serve the customer fast. The only way you fail the level in the game is you serve food contaminated. And that gives this wide range. If you have players that want to do that fast before the time, they can do that. But if you have players that still need more time to serve and finish, they still can do that and receive the star and pass the level. So we articulate that to really benefit both styles of players and gameplay. I put here our framework to discuss accessibility and framework. We have been working with that for past years, and we know that's kind of challenging. Accessibility and designing for diversity, equity, and inclusion is like a perfect solution. It's like a learning process. So every project that we do, we get better and better. So we propose this framework to help teams to articulate things, or like guiding questions, or like vocabulary to talk about these things. So if you're interested in reading that, or if you want to connect to us and learn more about that's something that we do research on it. And here's some examples of the representation. We did a lot of iterations as well to make sure we don't have the stereotypes, and we have like a diverse sets of characters that players can really identify and connect with, not only from the customers, but the one that works and they can play throughout the kitchen work. So we had a lot of feedback from you. We also have internal feedback, and also from the the foundation, we have some regular meetings that we show characters and get feedback from them as well. Now I'm gonna head up to Amy to talk about the process a little bit and some of the user testing findings that we have.
Great, yes. So our process, as Mateus has mentioned, includes bringing the target audience in to look at the game, not just at the end, but all the way throughout the process. So that includes when we were first trying to decide how we were going to redo the game to avoid cultural appropriation, when we were deciding on characters, when we were deciding on how the gameplay would change from the original game to be more accessible. Each of these decisions included input from youth. And that doesn't mean that every single thing one kid told us got implemented, but it means that we were able to listen to a large number of youth over time as the game developed and became closer to finished. And we were able to sort of both make certain very distinct changes in response to youth feedback, but also just kind of hear everything that they were saying and be informed by their experience of playing the game. And that included both time that they spent in these summer sessions where we do design activities for a full week with them so that they're really immersed in that headspace of being informed critics. And it included some shorter 1 or 2 day or just half day user testing sessions that we scheduled throughout the year. And it also included different ways for them to give feedback. So sometimes when kids are together, they'll give feedback in a different way in conversation with each other than they will if they have the chance to reflect on their own. So we have what we call the video closet, which is a chance that every kid gets when they come in to just give us their honest feedback by themselves in a little room with glass doors with an iPad where they can just press record and tell us anything that they want us to know that they didn't say during session. Or just reiterate what they said during session so we know which of the things they said was important to them. Next slide, please. Unless there's anything on there you want to mention, Mateus.
No, I think you cover everything. I maybe just want to mention that I think you mentioned that throughout the whole process, we have from early design stage where we don't have characters, we get some feedback, and till the end, we're like really testing the game. So throughout the whole process, we have testing.
Yeah. And on this particular game, because it was pretty complicated, the youth actually did some seriously important work just on the QA side. They first of all, they found things in the user interface that needed to be clarified, especially with the timer, like Mateus was showing you about the park open, park closed. We went through a lot of iterations of how we visually showed that timer because the kids told us that they didn't understand it, and they explained what they needed to see in order to understand how the timer was working and how the stars were being awarded. And they also found some really important bugs that we would have had to find at some point, but because the kids were testing early in the process, they found those bugs for us earlier on, and it really helped. I think on the next slide, I describe one of them. Oh, maybe it's the next one. Okay, first we'll look at some funny comments that from the youth testing. One of the things that's really wonderful is when you hear them chatting with each other as they play the game for the first time, and you hear how they're really inhabiting the world of the game, and they like the fact that they're playing it and their friends are also playing it at the same time. And that's what makes a game like this so effective in the classroom also, is it's not just the one kid playing the game, it's the conversations they're having during gameplay, after gameplay, where they reinforce some of these concepts for each other. And sometimes it's just totally funny. It's just like the green beans look like green Takis. Kids are obsessed with Takis in New Mexico. I don't know if that's true everywhere in the US right now, but Or like this quote here, this guy wants corn. You're at a literal restaurant roller coaster and you want corn. And then some of these actual food safety learning moments, like one kid said to the other, I suggest you wash everything at least once. And the other kid says, do I have to wash the chicken? And his friend is like, no, don't wash the chicken. And we laughed so hard when we heard that, because we literally have another project that is called Don't Wash Your Chicken. And those kids were like coming up with that themselves in the process of playing the game, which was hilarious.
Go to the next one.
Next slide, yeah. Right, and so also sometimes they would respond to our prompts in funny ways. And part of what's shown here is that the game player's experience with the game is not only about winning. It's not just about doing everything right and getting to the last level. Sometimes it's about making mistakes, and sometimes it's even about purposefully making mistakes to explore what will happen. So this youth tester here, we heard him say, the next day, I'm not going to wash my hands. And then the kid next to him was like, what? He's not going to wash his hands. And the next kid is like, that's not okay. You've got to wash your hands. So sometimes doing those wrong actions in the game, games are a safe place to fail. Games are also a safe place to purposefully fail, just to explore what happens when you fail. And that is as much of a learning experience as anything else. And I thought it was funny when Mateus asked them what ending they were expecting from the game. They said, you get fired. No, you're retired. You get a paycheck. After 10 years, you get $10. So they definitely get into the imaginative idea of this space of working in this kitchen.
Thank you, Amy. I think now Ruth is going to walk us through some of the teaching strategies that we can do to use the game. So it's with you, Ruth.
Yes. So in all our different products that we have developed in the department, we have been using this 5 steps approach with most all of our products, and I'll got you very quickly on the process of these 5 steps and the importance of taking the time to develop these steps. Next slide, please. So the first part of this process is just letting the kids or letting the players play the game, explore the game without pre-teaching anything. They just jump into the computer and explore, click, play, and make them or encourage them to make those sounds available, so they can explore or experiment the game in all meaningful ways. It is also a good time for them to just chat with each other or talk to each other about what's happening on the game, because after the first gameplay session of 10 minutes, we will ask them some reflection questions about what is happening on the game. What do you like about the game? What were some challenges that you find? At this point, we don't expect them to give us answers in regards to the content. We just talk about the game, and we truly believe that if they talk about the game, they will talk about the content that they are learning through the game. So this is the first 3 steps, where they play the game, they reflect and discuss, and then they come back to the game to kind of from the things that they heard on the discussion, they play the game and apply some of those concepts. Next slide. After the first gameplay session, we usually design some supporting activities where students can apply the knowledge they get during this game. And we try that all of our products include these guidelines as to how to use them and extra learning resources that can accompany the game. And we are committed to design most of these activities as hands-on activities to engage on the learning experiences. These activities will have to do a lot of with the content that the game is approaching. Next slide, please. And then after they do this supporting activity, they go back to the game. And on this second round of gameplay, this offered the opportunity to reinforce and assess the learning from previous activities or steps. Just by if you walk around the room or the space by comparing screens from the first play for the first gameplay session versus the second round of play, it will be a very easy way to assess and see how players have made changes in their playing strategies, in the way they now use different strategies or hints that they have heard from previous discussions. So this is also a good time to make another discussion where they can engage on how the last levels are more challenging to them, and how can they make use of a good strategy to get all the stars or get all the achievements in fewer steps. So using this 5-step approach gives you the opportunity to become the facilitator of game-based learning experiences, not just letting the kids play by themselves, but also fostering a learning culture of inquiry-based learning, and that where you can engage together with the student in this learning experience.
Thank you, Ruth. So I want to talk about research. So the previous version of the game was a huge success in gameplay and impact as well. So we had like over 4 million plays on the web. And we had like a research study that really showed the effectiveness of the game, not only in engaging youth in the gameplay and a fun gameplay, but also shift their knowledge and attitudes in terms of like intentions and around food safety. So one of the next steps that we have for this project, we just released the game. We are working on a research study. So if you'd like to partner with us in this research, we would love that. If you have like a group of students that you want to use the game and have some extra activities, we would love to connect with you and collaborate. We have like a meeting this afternoon to really articulate our research study. So that will be the perfect time if you are interested in connecting with us, so we can collaborate on the research study. Now we have a space for question and answer. So you can use the feature on Zoom, and we're going to address those questions. So I really appreciate your attention and being here today.
Thank you so much, Mateos, and thank you to this team for taking the time today to share your work with us. One thing I wanted to share real quick before we go into the Q&A is this team did produce a really wonderful publication, and that's available through the Extension Foundation. And I'm going to put a direct link to that in the chat so you can see a little bit more about their journey and some of the things they learned through this process. So that link is in the chat. Let me go ahead and pull up the Q&A real quick.
I appreciate that reminder, Aaron, that you put the publication there. And I just saw that Rose from Extension is on the audience, and I really need to shout out her because she was very fundamental in putting those publications out, so working with our team. So I really appreciate your work, Rose.
Yes, thank you so much, Rose. I do see a question in the chat. We have a question from a participant that says, is this game 100% accessible to screen reader users?
Yes, that's one of the things that when we changed the old version to this one, we moved to web-based, is the idea that we can have that screen readers read the content. So yes, it's accessible for screen readers.
Awesome. So if anybody else has any questions, please feel free you can put them we're a relatively small group. You can either put them in the chat or you can put them in the Q&A, whatever is easier for you.
And I did see there was a question about how to access the game. So just to reiterate, it is totally free. We recommend accessing it on computers. We have played it on tablets, and many of our youth in the testing sessions did play it on tablets. So that does work, but I would say computers are best if you can get your learners on computers. Trying to play it on a phone would probably be too small of a screen to be able to effectively play it. And everything that we've talked about today is available at this URL, themeparkkitchen.org. That includes the gameplay video if you want to show that to people. It includes a link to the publication. It includes more details about the original research that validated the learning gains.
Can I also?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to put our contact information. I saw some people that need to leave the meeting, so I want to put our contact information. If you have like further questions later on, you can really connect with us. But go ahead.
A couple questions have popped up. One question: is it okay to share this resource with our local youth centers?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Yes, please. Yes.
And we had a couple questions here. I think they're about the same thing. The question is, how can we access the supplemental teaching guide with the hands-on activities?
Well, that's a great question. So the publication that Aaron mentioned, we had like some guiding questions on that, but it's not like hands-on activity yet. So we are also working on those materials. If you want to collaborate with us on that, we will appreciate that. Ruth is working on those materials, and we're going to have that uploaded to the website as soon as we have those ready.
Yes, and actually, if we need people that would like to invest some time in getting together and designing these hands-on activities according to what the content they are currently teaching. Let's say, for example, if they have a home economics class or course, let's get together and design some cool activities where they can use the game to foster the learning that they are already acquiring in this type of courses.
Another question in the chat: is this easy for teachers to use as a resource outside of Extension? Is there a tutorial for teachers?
Yeah, that's something that we have on the game itself. We have a how to play. But I think as Ruth mentioned in her presentation about getting familiar with the game, and I think one way to get familiar is just go there and play, explore the game. Before you go to the classroom, play yourself, play the game, see the levels, see which one you think will be beneficial for your students. So then once you use with your students, you'll be very familiar not only with the vocabulary of the game, but also the interface. And then you'll find ways that you can incorporate it and also work with extra activities. And as Ruth was mentioning, we really would like some collaboration as well on creating those materials. As you have a specific need for your class, please contact us and we would love to support you creating those materials that we can really support the use of the game.
And this will also give us the opportunity to design those strategies or teaching materials where if we have an opportunity to test this game in any learning environment, this will give us a lot of feedback onto what are the requirements or necessities that we can invest in designing the learning resources.
Wonderful. Just see a couple comments in the chat. Kayla shares she's a 4-H agent. It's perfect to use for summer camp collaboration this summer between 4-H and a local cooking education nonprofit and NC. That's wonderful.
That sounds great. We are collaborating with National 4-H and 4-H Clover, so probably the game will be available in 4-H Clover soon as well. And we are very excited to hear about your project.
Dr. Braxton from Tuskegee says that Tuskegee Cooperative Extension would like to be a part.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, any remaining questions? Please feel free to, if you'd like to, you're welcome to open up your microphone or put them in the chat, whatever you're most comfortable with. We'll just give it a moment and see if there's anything else.
And you can ask any question you want. If
I
you
got
want,
a question.
if you want to ask what are green Takis, that works too.
I have a question and just a genuine curiosity, and maybe for anybody else, an extension that's looking at game development as a possible tool for their programs. How long does it take to go from an idea to a completed product? How long have you all been working on this?
That's an excellent question, and we have a workshop on NACTA, the conference that's coming this year. It's specifically about that, how we go from idea to product. And the answer for that question is depend, because depend on the budget, depend on the time, the scope of the project. But something that our team is very good at is because we are expert in creating the media. We are not expert in food safety. We're not expert in teaching math. So for that reason, we usually collaborate with other specialists or agents or faculty from university to bring their research and expertise, for example, food safety. And then we have a specific and very articulated process that's research-based that guides us through the development. So sometimes we don't necessarily need a game. Sometimes just an animation with lots of visuals help learners to understand the content better. Sometimes throughout the process and then based on research, we understood, oh, we really need a game for that because players need to really practice that, or they need this safe space that they can fail and practice this content. So I would say it all depends on the scope of the project, but we are very open. We love to collaborate. I would say that's the nature of our department. Every place we go, even if I'm at the grocery store, I'm looking for collaborators. So we are always looking for collaborators. And if you have game ideas or you have a specific content that you're trying to teach, you're like struggling, contact us and we can help you on that.
And not to take any thunder away from the game you've currently developed here, but New Mexico State University has developed a number of other games. Is that correct?
Yes, we have on this webpage, innovatemedia.nmsu, that did all of our products there, animations, virtual labs, and games. They're all available for free. Most of them are grant based, so they are available for free, and you can use those. So Amy, do you want to highlight some specific projects that you think would be interesting for this audience?
Yes, I noticed on the Padlet a lot of people mentioned financial literacy. So I wanted to let you all know about our credit score game, which is called Night of the Living Debt. The caveat on this one is it only is available for iPad, but if you do have access to iPads, or if some of your youth have their own iPads, this game is like so fun to play. Like every single kid I've ever given it to has just been transported. Basically, you're trying to survive amidst the zombies, but you still have to do things like get housing, get transportation, get health insurance, go to school. But meanwhile, you're like foraging through abandoned buildings for supplies. So it's this really nice combination of this like totally frivolous zombie idea with some really serious financial literacy learning about how you plan your life and how you use credit and debt in a way that doesn't damage your credit score long term. Oh, good. I see Pam Watson says that they use Night of the Living Dead. I'm so glad.
And a side note on that project, we applied for funding on NTIE, the same program from this theme park kitchen, for funding because we want to expand not only to having the iPads, but we want to have a web version that more people can play. So we hope we get funded so we can expand that project and make more users and youth learn about credit score.
And I believe you all actually worked with another project we had an NTAE a couple of years ago from the University of Connecticut, and they worked with you all on developing a game around food marketing labels, which was really interesting. Things like GMO, non-GMO, and stuff like that.
Yes, we work with them. They came with us. They didn't have a lot of budget, so we work with them in a game jam. So we work specifically in 1 week creating this prototype game that gave them some research data and based on like helping consumers understand the GMO labels. And it's funny because recently this week as well, we applied for more funding for that project because they want to expand that to a full game that will teach consumers about like natural laborers or organic labels. So we're gonna be working on that, expanding that game possibility. And I think Barb just put on the chat the link to Unpeel. That's the prototype that we created with the Connecticut group.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I see a lot of really positive reactions in the chat towards this game and the other games that you all offer, and just a wealth of resources coming from your team over the last few years. So we really appreciate that. I don't see any other questions, so great news. We're going to end a little early and give everybody back some time today. But I want to take a moment and first thank our participants, Mateus and Amy, and the rest of your team for joining us, and also to everybody that was able to take time today to learn more about this work and some of the other work that we're going to have going on over the next couple of years. So. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Everybody have a great day.
You too.